I'm Bob Harris for Duraman Engineered Products. Several years ago, Duraman produced a series of videos that were how-to videos on the complete Duraman system. One of those videos was the Lumiere Decorative Epoxy system, which got an overwhelming response. A lot of people wanted to see more of that system, and so we just now produced a series of videos that's going to demonstrate the Lumiere Decorative Epoxy coating system. Basically, we've categorized it into 5 different series. Each series will include 3 color options. Please understand, this is not a how-to video, it's more of an inspirational video to help you come up with some color inspiration and witness some of the unbelievable color effects that you can do with the Lumiere system. So each of those will also, the video series will also spell out where these applications could be used. For example, a restaurant, a high-end bar, tenant improvement, retail outlet, museums, tattoo shops. So enjoy the videos and have fun with the Lumiere Decorative Epoxy system. For video series number 3, we're going to be showing you 3 color combinations that really could possibly work well in a hair salon, a tattoo parlor, perhaps even a children's daycare. And the reason for that is we're going to be using a little bit more vivid colors, more intense in colors, and purposely trying to create special effects. So our first base color is going to be Galaxy Blue, and this is again where you just get down a base coat quickly. So I'm going to leave it a little bit behind. Fast way to do that is just with the magic trowel. You've seen that's kind of been our predominant tool of choice throughout these video series, in addition to the spatula or their margin trowel. And the goal being just get it down quick. I mentioned in an earlier video that if you're doing blending techniques, whether you're creating veins or secondary colors, really you should probably get 200 to 300 square feet out and onto the floor, and then go back in and start to create your effects. Okay? In this case, we're going to use the Galaxy Blue, and then we're going to go in with a bronze for some veining techniques, and then we're going to use a secondary blue just to create some additional effects, and that color is going to be Caribbean Blue. So keep in mind, the warmer the temperatures, the faster your materials are going to set. You will reach a point where when it starts to compromise the flowability or how it's leveling, you definitely don't want to keep trying to manipulate or try to work the material. That time could vary. You probably have roughly up to 30 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes to be able to go back onto the floor to create certain effects, depending on what you're trying to do. Okay, so there's our base color of Galaxy Blue. Now what we're simply going to do is just come in and pour some bronze veins. Now I like to vary the size of the veins, meaning the width. We've talked earlier too, sometimes the oddest color combinations you would never think that would work really work quite nice together. You could easily put this in a squirt bottle if you wanted to have a little bit more control. But for this type of an effect, I'm not too caught up in that. I'm all right with one more over here. Now, as an alternate, you could let that do its own thing, or you could kind of come in here and just kind of help blend it a little bit more. I like when some of the initial base color bleeds through in the middle of these veins. And as an alternate, if you choose to, this is where we could come in and use our little bit of Caribbean blue, kind of as a secondary blue color. As we've mentioned before, there's really no rule to the effect that you're trying to achieve. You could actually bleed in this color right into the copper vein if you chose to, or excuse me, the bronze vein. In this case, we're going to try to preserve it within the blue. And now, all I'm going to do is blend it. In essence, what we've done is we created two variations of blue within the same sample. You're almost limited to having to use a small spatula or margin trowel like I'm using here if you're going to try to do this technique. Obviously, a margin trowel, or excuse me, a magic trowel would be a little bit too big to get into the smaller areas. You can see to get up into these tighter little peninsulas, we'll call them, you have to just turn your tool up on edge. And again, we've got smaller variations of these tools to get really detailed work. You'd obviously have to work a little bit smaller areas or have enough helpers to create this kind of an effect. Okay, I've switched to a little bit of a smaller margin trowel or spatula, and you can just get in and do some detail work. You'll see that I'll come in here and I'll blend the edges a little bit to create these really cool, interesting effects. Again, don't get caught up in trying to be absolutely pristine and perfect. Sometimes by bleeding in, let's say you had a drip right here, you know, it actually could create an interesting effect. So use an imperfection or a drip to your advantage and have fun with it. And I promise you, your clients will love your floors. Our second color combination for video series number 3, which again is for hair salons, tattoo parlors, and kids' daycares, for example, is what kind of gives you the illusion of fire, basically. It's rare that you would do this, but we have done a couple jobs, and when it's executed properly, it really can produce a stunning effect. What we'll start off with is just a black base coat. So this is a good video to show you how you can actually blend just 100% solids pigmented epoxy, like EO2, like we see right here. And then what we'll do is we're going to blend in our copper colors into the 100% solids epoxy. So in other words, there's no metallic pigments in here, just black pigment. So we're going to start with this as our base coat, which incidentally is the same color that we use for the prime coat that I'm currently going over the top of right now. So I'm applying it with a magic trowel. You could do this quick by attaching this to a handle, and of course on a large area, standing up, applying this material. For this type of an effect, you want to kind of leave what we would refer to as the negative space, and in this case, the black will be our negative space. So in other words, I don't want to cover the whole board with our brighter or our hotter colors, because it would muddy it out and you wouldn't have the illusion that we're going for, or the effect of, say for example, flame licks. How fire, when you see it burning, kind of produces the flame licks that go up into the sky. So that's what we're trying to achieve here. So now you can kind of either just draw out where you want it to go, like this, and then we're going to go ahead and leave a lot of the black that you see here. So I'm just kind of mapping out where I want now, and I may add more. I'm going to just kind of cover this whole area. Once again, you've heard me say it over and over, on a much larger application, easy to use the magic trowel if you're trying to create much broader areas here. Keep in mind, when you're mixing multiple colors, you definitely have a time frame, so you don't want to wait too long. So I'm purposely making this a real random kind of jagged edge here. If you really want to have this illusion pop, you can actually take orange pigment, like you saw us mix the black into here, and you can actually create orange real hot spots, which it really kind of gives that illusion of fire, like a real bright fire. Here, we're trying to create the effect with our metallic pigments, which is not as dramatic. But you can see here now what I'm trying to do is kind of create what looks like little flame licks, if you will. Once you get the base down, then you can go back in and start to really kind of create the effects that you're trying to get. Like that. And oftentimes too, you'll have a little ember, so I'm just going to kind of create that like you see here. And we're going to go back and highlight a lot of this as well with brighter colors. So now what we're going to do is create our hottest spot, which is going to be kind of a brass color, but we don't want to cover it all the way. So we want to just kind of come in here, pour little drips in here. Creating what's referred to as our hot spots. And kind of blend. I want to still preserve some of the actual color here. of our base color, that is. Put quite a bit more color down here. I have our little smaller margin trowel to create what looks like a little flame lick. Same thing here. So keep in mind, on a technique like this, you're not going to be creating large areas. You're going to have to just work slow to get the effects that you're wanting. But with some time and some practice, you can really create some very, very interesting effects. Kind of like little burning embers basically coming up here as well. You notice that fire has movement, so I continually try to keep it moving in this upward fashion, like you see here. Now I have a little bit more of this left over here. Pour around this perimeter, just because I have the color. Okay. Blend this out a little bit. And the last thing I might do to kind of create a real hot spot is put just a little spot of white in here. So what we've done is we've put some white, which would be the hottest part of the fire, down here, combined with our brass to really give the illusion of a bright hot spot here. And with some creativity and some practice, you can have fun, even on a large project like this, or on your project at home. The third and final color combination for video series number 3, again, which could be used in hair salons, tattoo parlors, or perhaps children's daycare, is going to consist of deep purple, jet black, and bronze color. So just to demonstrate, you can in fact put this product down with a hand trowel. And like we've talked about in previous videos, there's just a multitude of different ways that you could apply this. You could literally just pour ribbons and then blend them all together, or you could put a base coat down like I'm about to do. So in other words, I'll cover the entire surface, or just about the entire surface, with the deep purple, followed by the jet black, and then of course I'll come in with a bronze accent color as well. So these colors work nice. It's not for every environment. However, if you want some fairly vivid effects, this could be a good possible candidate for your project. You can see the hand trowel really puts it down quick as well. We've done large projects with hand troweling to create certain effects, but predominantly on a large job, like we've discussed, you are just going to be putting it down with a squeegee, a notched squeegee, or a magic trowel. So the key is get the product down quickly, and once you have your base down as fast as you can get it down, then that enables you plenty of time to come in and work with your contrasting color, or colors in this case, which is jet black and bronze. Now notice too, if I'm using a hand trowel, I purposely want to create as much texture as possible. The more movement you get, the better effect you also get. And on this sample, what we're going to demonstrate is spritzing with a solvent. So what that's going to do is it's going to create kind of a cratered or a dimpled effect. It's going to give it a very three-dimensional effect. Timing's really important if you do that. You don't want to wait too long because the solvent won't have the effect where it disperses the pigment, the metallic pigments. And if you do it too soon, it's simply going to level back and you'll lose a lot of the effect as well. So a variety of ways you could do different angles, something like this. And then something as simple as blend, random. And these are actually really nice color combinations. When you're down here close, getting this kind of a view at it, it looks very nice, these colors. So what I do is I keep going over, I want just real subtle accents. I'll go back into the gray, as you can see here, and bring it back down in this way. I'll always kind of take a bird's eye perspective of my work and kind of thinking we need just a little bit more there. And if you can, you know, assuming you had enough material, like we talked earlier, there's no rule. You could actually go blend color into color if you choose, something like that. And then you get this really nice kind of a subtle effect as well. Okay, blend that a little bit. Call that good. And now we're going to come in with our bronze color. Once you get a confidence level of working with these materials, you'll find that it's a lot of fun. Now keep in mind also, you've got to be a realist. Hopefully you're in the business to make money, and the more colors that you do, you need, you know, to charge accordingly. When you start to manipulate and blend a variety of colors like we're doing here. The easiest by far method of metallic epoxies is what we're kind of demonstrating in video series number 1, which is just using 2 different colors and putting it down quickly and blending and then walking away from it. This actually starts to almost kind of create create artwork, if you will. And it's going to be a little bit more time consuming to do it on a larger volume scale. So just keep that in mind. Just blending as you go. And then you can literally stand back, take a look, see if you're happy with it. You can always add more or less. I like that. The last thing we'll do is we'll let this kind of sit idle for probably 15 minutes, and then we'll come back and we'll spritz it with solvent, and we'll get a close-up tight shot with the camera to see if you can see on camera the effects that we're able to get with spritzing with solvent. Now that you've completed your Lumiere designer epoxy coating system, it's time to put a top coat or a clear coat over the top to preserve this canvas. Keep in mind the Lumiere by itself is 100% solids epoxy, which really is not scuff or abrasion resistant. So for that reason, we want to use one of the 4 Duramin coating systems over the top of that to preserve it. If you're within a 24-hour time frame, in other words, when you've applied the Lumiere, you can come back within 24 hours, and assuming you don't have any outgassing bubbles or imperfections, you could clear coat right over the top without abrading the surface. However, if you exceed that 24-hour window of opportunity, you're going to need to scuff it up or sand it. Basically, you want to degloss it and level out any blisters or bubbles or outgassing voids that you may have. Generally a 100 screen on the bottom of a floor machine. For more information on that, you can visit the Duramin website and watch the previous videos that we shot on how to prepare the surface for your coating application. The 4 systems that we're going to be demonstrating for these video series is the Purdue P98, which is a high solids, 98% solids polyaspartic. You can also get their version of this in a 72% solids, which is a little bit lower. What's the difference? The difference is the higher solids is going to stand up to scuffing and scratching in high traffic areas. So other consideration is the project budget, for example. You know, if you have a little bit of a lower budget, the lower solids, the P72 is going to be a little bit more cost effective than the higher solids. We're going to also be demonstrating the Purdue U90, which is a moisture cured high solids polyurethane system. Now, the fact that it is moisture cured, you want to let the Lumiere cure a minimum of 18 hours. Don't apply this product prior to that 18-hour window. The fact that it is moisture cured, if there's any moisture that's trying to come out of that system, it could actually, flash set this off. So 18 hours minimum. Really a great product, high gloss, very, very good scuff and scratch and abrasion resistance. This product is used in aggressive environments like airport or airplane hangars, for example, malls, that thing, where they want optimum performance. Also, we're going to get into the water-based system that Duramin offers. First of which is U46, which is a water-based glossed polyurethane. Now they also have a version in matte, which is referred to as the U45. So you can get both systems water-based, virtually no odor. Really great too if odor is a concern. Perhaps you're working in an enclosed area, maybe it's a home, a residential home, and you can't have an odor. Great systems to consider, which is the U46 and the U45.